This is the news and talk of Nevada. Now, Nevada Outlook, a discussion of Northern Nevada issues with Monica J. on News Talk 780 KOH.
I'm so glad you decided to join us today because I'm at a loss as well. I have no idea who these people are, what they do. So we're going to learn together, and it's going to be great because I know this is going to be an awesome show. Joining me today is Pieter Droog, who is the branch manager of ProNet. Now, out of all of that, Johanna Downey is joining us, who is the branch manager of Join Inc. And I'm at a loss. I'm sorry, I've never heard of either of your companies, but I know this is going to be fantastic because you're all about getting people back to work.
That's what we do.
All right. Johanna, first off, thank you so much for coming in. Tell us about Join. What is Join?
I'd love to, because as you said, you're not alone in the city of Reno. It appears that many people aren't familiar with who Join is. Join was previously known as Job Opportunities in Nevada, but Join Inc. is a private 501c3 nonprofit job training agency, and we're designed to help individuals gain skills that are needed to become more employable in today's job market. And believe it or not, there are jobs out there. So
that's what we keep going back and forth with. Mm-hmm. You know, recently we actually broke out of the 12s. We're down into the 11s now for the jobless rate, but that's still too high.
It is. And you know, that doesn't even take into account a lot of those folks that may have even given up looking for jobs, and so they're not being captured in those statistics, or people that may never even have qualified for unemployment insurance to begin with, and those numbers aren't captured either. So, you know, really those numbers are still relatively high compared to the rest of the nation. I think we're still number 2.
Because when we look at those numbers, under Michigan, I believe in
it.
Uh-huh. With those numbers, does that take into account teens who have never been in the workforce or people graduating from the university? I mean, I feel so bad doing the reports that teens are having a harder time, finding their first job.
Yes.
Actually, they have the highest unemployment rate. If you're between 16 and 24, the unemployment rate, and it has varied a little bit, but it was sitting at 24 to 27%.
See, and I remember my first job at 16, and if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had that introduction into the workforce and what I wanted to do with my life, and that's where you pattern your education for.
Yes.
So looking into college and things like that.
Well, Join does offer a lot of incentives, basically, for people that never had that kind of experience. We call it a work experience, a WEX, and if somebody does qualify for our program, we have certain criteria that we have to follow under the Workforce Investment Act as it relates to adult and dislocated workers. So consequently, we don't work with a lot of teens, but what we can offer is what's known as the work experience, to get people to get their foot in the door, to get something on a resume, at least to say, yes, I've done this. And that kind of gives them a little leg up over somebody else that may not have had that opportunity.
Well, I'm gonna take a stab in the dark here, but construction workers, are you seeing a lot of those?
We are, actually, and they're looking for one of two things. Either they're looking to go back into the job that they came from, which they even understand that, there may not be a good possibility of reentering. So they're asking to get specific certifications that may give them that little leg up, such as an OSHA training, or to get them a forklift certification, something that'll make even a CDL, which is for truck driving, because this was something that I even learned recently, that on those work sites, many times the workers are basically bussed in or trucked in. And what if somebody on the job all of a sudden that brought these folks in on a truck isn't able to take them back home? So if you have another worker that has that CDL licensure, then they can say, hey, wait, I can do this. And so
you're making yourself more valuable
absolutely.
To the company when
absolutely.
You have these.
So that's the one option, is the other training. Or these folks are coming in and saying, look, that the construction is not going to work for me anymore and I need to do something different. So consequently, then we offer those types of trainings that will allow them to explore different venues of employment.
Well, that's been one of the biggest questions, is why is our unemployment still staying so high? And I'm wondering, is it people not being realistic about, we're not going to probably see the construction growth in the housing and industrial and things like that we saw before, when we were having that big boom. But are people hanging on that, know it's going to come back? Is that what is keeping that number so high?
I think the state has relied too long for certain industries to carry the state. And by that I mean, like, God bless them, but, you know, the casinos and construction were basically what this whole state more or less was built on, aside from mining, which is now resurging, which is really wonderful, and that may help to catapult our economy into something more doable. But, you know, that definition of insanity of doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results, I think that we as a community, we as a group of people that reside in Northern Nevada, we have to start looking at other venues of different types of employment that may be coming down the pike here. If we're looking into green energy, what is that going to look like? And how can we start training for people now to be ready to plug into those jobs when they do come into the state of Nevada, instead of saying, well, I'm just going to wait till construction picks up. Well, that to me is it could be cutting off your nose to spite your face. You know, that's a very limited thought. So we're trying to help encourage people to expand their thought and think, you know, what can I do beyond this box? Right. What's available?
Now, how does ProNet work into this? Because you are actually under the blanket of Join.
Right. ProNet is the only program in the state of its type, in the fact that we have a specific demographic and that we support and educate and train the professional. Whereas,
so more of the white collar.
Exactly. Our definition of a professional is if you have managed a company's assets, people, time, equipment, training, or money, if you've been in a leadership position, or your profession requires a certain education or a certain certification, then we consider you as a professional. So within our organization, we have people that have been CFOs, and we have administrative assistants and everything in between. It's a very eclectic group right now compared to previous years.
Well, yeah, with the economy turn, it just seemed like, you know, okay, we got to slash this amount of jobs. Everybody's
exactly.
going to lose something.
But back to Johanna's point about the economy is the fact that there is no one factor. In fact, this morning in the paper, even the state is having trouble finding and recruiting people. We have established a relationship with the state, and they're coming in to do training for our folks and Johanna's folks, and we have actually people coming out of the offices out of Carson City and Fallon.
Yeah, I saw the exact same thing. It's like, how can you have 1,400 jobs available? And, I mean, I always figured it was just the state was trying to save money, so they were kind of doing without for right now, and, you know, but we need to get people into those job openings.
But the issue is that, one, when you lose your job, you lose your identity. And when you lose your identity, you lose your confidence. It literally is earth-shaking. It's more than just the financial
I would so
loss.
be in bed under the covers, just, you know, if I wasn't coming here, I'd be just a quivering. Yeah, exactly. I'd be a mess.
I mean, my line, and every one of my ProNoters knows this line, I don't want you sitting at home in the dark, in your bathrobe, wearing your bunny slippers, watching reruns of Oprah. I want you to remain engaged so that you do your job search. And so, therefore, we do a balancing act of reinstilling that confidence in them so that they'll go out and do their job search. Now, year to date, as of actually the end of April, we had 166 people come into our program. We've had 174 go out for employment. Okay. However, the average is
I know I'm not good with math, but
that's about 104%.
Well, put this in relation to
I'll
how
take
many
my socks and shoes off to help you. Okay.
Put this in relation, Peter, to how many total clients that you serve currently.
Well, I currently have about 140 people on my books. Yeah. Okay, so we started off the year with over 180, and right now we're down to about 140.
So it's not just you, Peter. There's more people helping.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, we have offices in Fallon, Fernley, Winnemucca, Ely, Elko, Carson City. So we the 13 northern counties.
Did I not know about this because I have a job? What is this? This is an amazing group.
Most likely, yeah.
You don't know about things until you go in search, yes. And you know that was one of the things in a mass layoff. One of our gentlemen was laid off and joined your program, and that's how I found about it. And I heard, and it's like, wow, why aren't we talking about this? Because there are still so many people struggling.
Right.
You know? Yeah. All right, if you are looking for a job or just, you know, enhancing your skills, please stick around. We're going to be back with Pieter and Johanna right after this. Talk more about Join and ProNet and how we can get Nevada back to work right after this.
You're listening to Nevada Outlook. Bosma on Business, today at 10 a.m. on News Talk 780 KOH.
Thanks for sticking with us today. Pieter Droog, the branch manager of ProNet, and Johanna Downey, the branch manager of Join, my guests today. We're talking about getting Nevadans back to work. And, we look around the country, and there are still places, I think it was like New Hampshire was 4% unemployment, Utah was 5%. And here we are, we just now made it down into the 11s. We just broke the 12% mark. Do you see any reason why we should be at over 11% unemployment here in Nevada?
I have a fear that that's more of a political answer than it is an economic answer.
Is that why Johanna's keeping her mouth shut and grinning? Okay.
This is your baby here.
The governor has announced there was a study done that the state paid for, and there are 7 sectors that they would like to have to increase the employment. Manufacturing and distribution, aerospace and defense projects, gaming, of course, mining, of course. And those are all in place. And part of it is Job Connect, which is part of Dieter and ourselves. We're all working towards helping people to find the jobs. Green energy is a classic. Yes, the technological aspect of it. And so we're all working towards helping the folks. In Johanna's case, it's more to the specific. In other words, somebody who's going into green energy to learn how to build or install solar panels, for example. Mm-hmm. Whereas in my case, it's the accountant who runs the financial aspect of the company who builds the solar panels. But it all ties to those 7 sectors. However, there are still over 80% of the companies, at least in our area here, have 20 employees or less. And that is part of the issue is that how many CFOs do you really need? How many CEOs do you need? How many vice presidents do you need? Right. So the folks that I deal with, they're looking for the larger employers, and that is what holds them back. And so what ends up happening is they take jobs that are less than, because the philosophy is it's easier to find a job when you have a job. Yeah. There is still prejudice against the unemployed. In fact, New Jersey had to pass legislation that said, because they were putting on their ads, if you're unemployed, don't bother applying.
Oh, jeez.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we haven't seen that here in Nevada, but I'm sure it's out there. I'm sure that there must be something wrong with you if you're unemployed.
Well, how do you feel then when subjects come up that people would prefer to be on unemployment, because we have people out there that just, they're going to be on unemployment until it runs out, and then they'll go and get a job.
And we've had this discussion with our fellow branch managers, and I'm sure there's some truth to it. In my case, with my clients, if you were earning, let's say, $50,000 a year, that's approximately $25 an hour. Mm-hmm. Unemployment is $10 an hour. That's a major hit to your pocketbook. So my clients, all of my clients, 99% of them are highly motivated to find work because they want to get back into that earning perspective of being able to take care of their family, make their house payment, make their car payment, et cetera.
Right. Yeah, it's disheartening to see people that, there are jobs out there. Just take something until, you get with ProNet or Join and you upgrade your skills and
exactly.
Get to the next thing.
You have to keep in mind, Monica, this still is an employer's market right now. And so the wages that are being offered out there aren't phenomenal.
Right.
And so if you have an employer who is offering $8-9 an hour for a position, and say one of my clients is receiving $10 or $11 an hour, basically from unemployment, where's the motivation?
Yeah.
So that's the biggest obstacle that our people are having at this time. And many times what we're finding, our employers are hiring people, yes, up to and including 3 months, and then saying, you're just not working out, and cutting them loose, and then bringing in a whole new set of people. And so that's not really fair either, because you've got people that are very diligent and very earnest in their job searches, and they want to make a good first impression. And if you remember, early days when you first started a job, you're gangbusters. You're out there and you want to make a great impression, do everything that you possibly can. And 3 months goes by and then you're told, see ya. How deflating is that? And so how does that continue to motivate people to say, I'm going to find another job?
Yeah, because from what I see, you look at the job fairs that we have at the different, Grand Sierra had one a few months ago, and I just looked at the footage of the people. in business suits,
You bet.
my age, and
You
know,
bet.
it wasn't the kids in the jeans and the shirt and tie looking for that first job. It is middle class America.
Older
We
workers.
both had a table at the GSR, and I'm walking from table to table because it was amazing how many of my former clients are working for these companies, and these 5 or 6 young kids come walking by me. They couldn't have been, if they were 20, I'd be surprised. And this one kid goes, "What's wrong with these people? They want me to fill out this paperwork and answer questions. Just give me the bloody job." I went, "Oh, your job search is going to take a while."
Long time.
And that's those soft skills. That's those people skills. That and attitude is probably a greater selling point right now over, believe it or not, certain skills. Because I think a lot of companies are realizing that they can always give you the tools that you need to get up to speed on a job. Right. But if you don't have that motivation, that self-starting, the smile and, hey, how you doing, customer service skills, that's going to work against you. And so we try to promote that in our workshops that we have.
That's how I got my very first radio job.
Is that right?
Because the radio station burnt down, and I was being a cheerleader. I was just part-time, and I was like, we can recover from this. And the owners liked that so much that they fired the bitter, guy that was doing evenings and said, "You know what? You get in there." And so it's like, you've got to have that spirit that, working is fun.
Yes.
Dealing with people is fun.
And that's what we teach our clients.
Right.
You don't go in there saying, "I've done this and I've done this." What you have to do is walk in there, identify what the needs of the employer, and then tailor your achievements to say, "I've accomplished this before, and if I've done it before, I can do it
and
for
we
you
can
in the
do
future."
this here. Yeah.
Do it here.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
So, let's talk about some of the programs that you actually provide for people in ProNet, and how do you structure these things for people to get the best of them? But we're going to be right back after this, and we'll get going on the programs, and it's almost going to be like a little junior course here, right, Peter? You're going to.
I can do it all.
Okay, we'll be right back after this.
John Sanchez.
The Congressional Budget Office said the U.S. economy would contract at an annual rate of 1.3% for the first half of 2013 if lawmakers take no action to prevent the looming tax hikes and spending cuts. They'll do a 60-day, 90-day, 120-day extension like they've done with the unemployment benefits. What they continue to do with the budget, they will extend this thing out first quarter, second quarter of 2013. People just sit back and go, "You know what? I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to buy. I'm not going to sell until I know for sure what's going to happen in the future." We've seen what that does, right? Gridlock.
Weekdays at 5 p.m. on News Talk 780 KOH. You're listening to Nevada Outlook. Dan Mason. Weekdays at 3 on News Talk 780 KOH.
I'm so glad you decided to stick with us today. Pieter Droog, who's the branch manager of ProNet, and Johanna Downey, the branch manager of Join. We're going to get back to you again just a moment.
Hang tight.
Hang tight. Your cohort here in crime is going to get us through the programs that are available, because I'm sure it's not just coming in and saying, "You know what, find me a better job.
Right.
These are the skills I have. What can I do?"
When an individual comes into the program, they go through a core workshop week. And the very first workshop is what we call the skills analysis. Now, it's not really fancy. It's not really expensive, but it's what kind of environment do you like to work in? What kind of responsibilities do you like to have? Because what we're finding is...
Leave me alone. Stick me in a room.
And there are people who prefer to work in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And there are people like me who love to be in charge.
Yeah.
Okay? So you have to identify the things that you like, because you have to be able to get up in the morning and want to go to work, regardless of what the paycheck really is. So we go through the skills analysis, and then from there we develop a 60-second me. It's your elevator speech. What have I done? What am I looking for? Then we go through a whole series of workshops on resume writing. What are the different types? How to build one? How to connect with people, basically called networking. Interviewing skills, compensation negotiation skills, how to find jobs. Because in the late 1990s, 97% of all job leads were found on the web. Today, less than 40% of the jobs are found on the web. Excuse me, they're found, vast majority of them are being found now through the hidden job market, knowing somebody who knows right. you. And so we teach all of that. We also do a mock interview. And then through the month, we do a whole series of graduate workshops, depending on what's available and what the needs are. For example, we have a lady right now who's doing a graduate workshop on business writing so that your skills of writing your resume is better. We do train the trainer. We have an advanced job search. We have an advanced resume workshop. I teach about once a quarter a workshop called Leadership versus Management so that you can
That is a huge difference.
Oh, yes, most definitely. We have we just have currently a workshop going on with a professor from UNR on social media for business. A couple of weeks ago, we did a workshop again through UNR, the project management preparation exam workshop. So we average approximately about 10 graduate workshops per month. We'll probably have well over 100 by the time this fiscal year is over with.
Wow.
And so the intent is to either help you with your job search, help you keep your job, and to help you deal with unemployment while you're dealing with it. And those are the three aspects.
Now, can you use ProNet and come for your services if you have a job?
No. You
Okay.
have to be
You
a
have to
dislocated
be-
worker.
okay.
Yes, because that's the funding that we receive from the federal government.
What is that, dislocated worker?
In our case, it's basically you're eligible for unemployment.
Okay.
So even if you were terminated for cause, I may not be able to help you. However, I can refer, and we do this quite often, I'll refer clients over to Johanna. Johanna then will enroll them under other criteria because she receives other kind of funding, and then we'll co-manage that client.
All right.
Not that we do it a lot, but we do that.
Okay. When we talk about jobs, and of course I threw out construction industry in the first segment, but are those the majority of people coming to you, or is it sales clerks?
Oh, we've got a mixed bag. I mean, it runs the gamut from everybody that's not been working for a very, very, very long time for one reason or another, to the person that's almost a paraprofessional that had been in some sort of a legitimate position and had acquired certain skills, but now for one reason or another has been laid off to no fault of their own. I can't say that we've got like 40% of the people that come through our doors are from
Well, I
construction.
think, people throw statistics out there that,
They do.
really with the construction industry,
Right.
They're basically flat out saying that's what's keeping us down.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's necessarily the case.
I don't think so either.
Because I think those, people who are good at that and that they've kind of moved on, because there are other states that are using construction,
Exactly.
and building up.
And that's something I know Peter will probably want to talk to, is that attrition rate that we're seeing here in the state of Nevada, because people are finding jobs elsewhere. And we are losing a good portion of qualified skilled laborers and tradesmen and
even professionals.
And even professionals, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing that I've never really understood with attrition and retirement, from that side of it, because there's actually a national commercial that's running that so many people retire every day, and it's like, well, if that many people retire every day, why do we still have this unemployment issue?
But the reality of it is that the boomers are not retiring.
They're not.
In the numbers that I have clients that are 80 years old. Now, it's either because they want to continue working because they feel like they have value, and many of them have to keep working because they have a need. Spouses are sick, they need the medical benefits, whatever it may be.
Social Security isn't what it's cracked up to be.
Exactly. So the average age of my client is 55 years old, and I have a few that are in their 20s, but I have a lot of them that are in their 60s, 70s, and as I mentioned, I have one that's 80.
When you look at decades back, not saying you guys have been in this for a while,
Wait a
but
minute.
I'm talking, way back. What happened to being happy with just having a regular job? It doesn't seem like it's like we all want to drive Bentleys. We all want, that brass ring. And what's the song? I want to be a billionaire. It's like, it can't happen to everybody. What happened to just living a simple life?
But believe me, the majority of our clients, that's what they want. They just want a job that will pay the bills.
Right.
Keep in mind that the average American today is earning 14% less than what they were earning 3 years ago.
See, that's mind-boggling.
My average client is walking out the door taking a job that's paying them 19% less than what they were earning in their previous job, and that has been consistent over the last 3 years. If I were a politician or if I were a businessman, I would be absolutely petrified, because let's say we achieved that 4% unemployment that the economists tell us we need for a healthy economy. If everybody were earning 19% or 14% or even 10% less than what they were, That means you're going to have less discretionary funds to buy things, and you're going to have less taxes being paid. So even with the economy being the fact that we'll have low unemployment, you're still not going to have the funding available to pay for other things.
And that's the thing that I learned a long, long time ago, that just because you've worked at a place for a year doesn't mean that you necessarily get a raise.
No.
Just because you've worked someplace for 10 years doesn't mean you get a raise. You might be asked to take a pay cut. You know, that is the reality of today's times.
In fact, I believe a few months ago I saw in the Wall Street Journal that the average wage increase is like 1.9% across the country. And that's has gone up over the last couple of years.
You know, Monica, when you were asking about long time ago, you know, I'm just thinking of even my own parents in that particular generation. There was a sense of loyalty that employees had for companies, because companies basically showed a modicum of loyalty back to the employees.
Right.
And so, yeah, it was easy for a person to say, I've graduated from high school, I'm taking this position, and I'm going to stay with this company for the next 35 years till I get that gold watch and retire, and then I can go travel the country. And that was kind of that American dream that I think everybody was led to believe was how you are happy. You were saying, why aren't we happy? And in today's job market, that just isn't happening any longer. It's so rare. I'm blessed. I have one of my employees that's been with Join for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
And this woman knows this program inside and out, and she's seen everything come and go, and I value her because of her knowledge and her experience. And that's really rare to have, because it's more the norm to have somebody that's been with a company for a year or less, and they're still learning the ropes. They're getting their feet underneath them, and then all of a sudden there's a change.
How does that develop and change? I mean, I'm not saying I'm one of those occupiers or 99%ers, but I mean, is that the corporate world that we kind of get this loss, the in touch with, you know, our regular average employee? That,
you know, there's this great TV program, and I'm not a TV person, but it's The Undercover Boss.
I love that show.
And
I watched the
too,
Popeyes episode a couple
because
weeks ago.
I'm watching the faces of these executives and CEOs being just dumbstruck that what their employees have to go through to get through a day. And I think it's a healthy thing, because it should be a wake-up call for a lot of businesses to say, look, you're asking a lot of your employees. How many of you are willing to roll up your sleeves and do the same thing? Because it's challenging out there right now. So
I mean, they're looking at the bottom line, but do they really take a look at the person who's on that bottom line?
I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, we had a business, my family, years and years ago, and, you know, we had that employee that was there for 30 years, and, you know, until the unions got involved and they just shut down, because everybody else, you know, everybody wanted a raise. Right? Johanna, don't roll your eyes. I threw that out there. But, you know, it's just, it seems like
unions served a really good purpose in their inception. My dad worked in the steel mills back east when there weren't any unions. And to hear him tell stories about having to get up at dark 30 and stand in line with 120 other men, hoping that your name will be called so you can work that day to feed your family. Yeah. You know, unions in their inception provided a lot of good quality of life for a lot of people. Yeah. And I'm thinking, because businesses have evolved and changed so much, I'm not certain if unions per se have kept up with that. But that's a whole other talk show.
Yeah, because I think about those 1,000, you know, some odd teachers down in Clark County.
And that's another soapbox for me, yes.
Yeah. So.
I've been in education for over 20 years. And
I can totally see why. I wish you were one of my teachers. This is
You're very sweet.
Stick around. We're going to be right back with more on how to improve your job outlook right after this.
You're listening to Nevada Outlook. John Batchelor tonight at 6 on News Talk 780 KOH.
All right, as we wrap up today's program, Johanna Downey, branch manager of Join, my guest today, along with Pieter Droog, who is the branch manager. Were you giving yourself just a little Pieter Droog, ProNet branch manager? First off, before we go any further, because we'll do it again at the end of at our talk here, is how do people get a hold of you, and how do they know they qualify for your services?
Give us a call. Call us at our, may I give our phone number?
Yeah, please.
We're here in Reno, so it's area code 775-336-4450. and you can ask for the front desk, and what they will do is they'll ask you to come to an introduction, and that will give you a lot of information about who we are, what we offer, if you qualify, because we have certain criteria we need to follow. And it's really that simple. Just give us a call. Or we work very closely with other collaborative agencies within the community. So if people are going to, say, a CSA or to a Job Connect, they can also inquire about joint services, and we'd be more than willing to talk with you.
See, and that's why I feel so bad, because I can't tell you how many times I've had the great people from Job Connect on. I knew about Job Connect.
Most people do, yes, but because that's where their unemployment insurance comes from.
Well, and that's the sticky part too with your website is it's a national organization.
Correct.
So
Correct.
The website is
www.join.org.
So I'm sure you can kind of manipulate around it and find Reno and the phone number there.
Yes, okay. Absolutely. Contact information is in there, and there's some other frequently asked questions that are answered.
Now.
And then at ProNet, it's 674-5408. And then we'll ask a few questions, set you up, and every other week we have an orientation.
And you have your own ProNet. ProNetReno.com.
Roger that.
So you can find out more there.
Right.
Is there one thing, well, obviously being employed, you have to be unemployed. This is really, you can't be trying to upgrade your skills or, find a better job. You really do have to be part of the unemployed. But is there anything else that would knock somebody out of the qualification that you can think of?
There's a lot of different qualifiers. That's why we basically need to sit with people one-on-one. We do everything on a case-by-case basis and to help evaluate, what that person's needs may be. And granted, I've had some people that come to me directly and say, look, I'm still employed or I'm partially employed, and what could Join do for us? Well, Join technically cannot for certain criteria, but I will still take the time to work with that individual to point them to resources and to help them. I'll work with them. My theory is I'll work with them 3 times, an hour each time, just as a gift to say, let's help you get back on your feet or get back on the right track. So
I love you guys.
We don't turn anybody away in that respect. We really try to help that person walk out the door with some resources.
In fact, during our orientation, we provide lists of other agencies. We provide lists of organizations. We provide lists of temp agencies. I mean, we provide a plethora of information to these folks so that they can hit the door running.
See, it's that first step.
Yes.
It's that first phone call that, what am I going to do?
Right. It's overwhelming.
It is.
And when you're lost and my God, thank goodness I found Join, but I don't know what I do from here on. Right. That's what we do. We help take you by the hand and kind of lead you into that direction. We offer a lot of different in-house workshops that even for those folks that don't know what they want to be when they grow up, and yes, our average age of client that comes through our doors is around 55 years of age.
Yeah, I'm 45. I still don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
And we offer different types of workshops that help you to narrow that down and find out what are your strengths, what are your transferable skills, where can we find that passion in you.
I like to be in control.
Okay, then.
If you ask my partner, I like to be in control.
Then we help to guide you into those fields because there are fields for folks like you.
See, and that's the thing that over the couple of years that, I've been doing this show for 12, but, over the years we've got a great working relationship with NCET, Nevada Center for Entrepreneurship and Technology, and Join, SCORE, and,
excellent agencies.
Encouraging people to, do your own thing.
Yep.
You don't need to be somebody else's employee, but they've been hit as well. I mean, do you help the entrepreneurs out there who tried to do their own thing?
We actually work with Rod Hoslick and Matt Westfield of SGS, Startup Growths and Strategies, 101, and they put on a 24-hour workshop on entrepreneurship, and it goes everything from establishing supply chains to distribution chains and marketing and finance. And those two guys are involved with Nevada, which is Sherry Hill and Rod Hoslick again, and they're working with a ton of agencies in the area to establish entrepreneurship. They're working through the University of Nevada, Reno. I mean, there's a ton of different entrepreneur programs ongoing, and all you have to do is pick up the newspaper and you can see it, or look on the internet and it comes up. there is a real big push because it is the entrepreneur who's going to save this state in the future. It truly is the entrepreneur.
It started this country to begin with. If you want to
exactly.
go way, way back on that one, you've got people with some brilliant ideas out there and great products or great service ideas. And it's just, again, it's that first step. What do I do? Where do I go? And so there are opportunities. Come to ProNet, come to join, and we can always point you to those opportunities, to those resources. There's a lot available to encourage these folks to get out there and market what they've got.
All right. It's really that easy.
It is.
336-4450. That's the number for join.
Correct.
If you want to call ProNet, 674-5408. Thank you so much for coming in today. I really appreciate your time. And actually, even without talking about the unions and that other stuff, this could have been a 2-hour show.
Yes.
Easy.
Have us back.
Because that's what we want to do, is we want to get Nevada back to work.
Yes, we do.
You can find out more at www.join.org or www.pronetreno.com. Pieter, Johanna, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having us.
I've been your host, Monica J., and really, we're all in this together.
On air, online, on demand. News Talk 780 KOH.